From Paris, France to the Magic Kingdom, this week I have 4 more fun and easy lunch ideas to share with you. Hey everybody, it's Jennifer with the Family Fudge and welcome to Subscriber Lunch Sunday. This week I have 4 awesome lunch ideas to share with you and they come from all over the world, including several lunch ideas given to me by subscribers that I met at the Magic Kingdom. So if you're new here, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. Hit that red subscribe button, and then there's a link in the description box if you'd like to send in your lunch idea. This week, I'm kicking things off with Gias Lunch, who I actually got to meet in person as the kids and I were getting on Big Thunder Mountain at Disney World. Her and her family were so sweet to say hi to us, and I was super excited to ask her what her favorite lunch idea was, so that's exactly what I'm gonna make today. Now for Gias Lunch today, I'm gonna be using the Omni box, but I'm not going to be needing the thermos section. Whoopsie. These things tip over a little bit too easy when they're empty. Now normally I would start with the main course first, but for Gias Lunch, I'm going to start with a special treat first because that's going to take the longest. For Gia's special treat, I'm going to start with a yellow cake mix. But I'm not actually going to be making a cake. In this large bowl, I've added the cake mix, coconut oil, eggs, water, and cinnamon. Then I'm going to just mix it all together. Next, I'm going to be using my very special Mickey Mouse donut maker. Now, I actually found this a while ago on Amazon, but I haven't used it in a while. This is basically just like a waffle iron, but of course, instead of making waffles, I'm making Mickey-shaped donut holes. So to do this, I'm just adding a little bit of batter to each little section. I did go ahead and put the cake batter in a Ziploc bag. That way I could get it into the molds a little bit easier. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this up, and in about 2 to 3 minutes, I'm left with golden, brown, delicious donut holes. Now I'm going to very carefully try to remove these. I definitely don't want to rip off those little Mickey Mouse ears. Now of course these donuts would be delicious just as they are, but I'm going to make these into churro donut holes. If you've ever been to Disneyland or Disney World, you'll know that churros are a very popular treat. So this is perfect for a Disney themed lunch. In the separate bowl, I'm just adding a little bit of white sugar and then about a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now I'm just going to mix this all together. And while these donut holes are still hot, I'm going to roll them around in this cinnamon and sugar mixture, and that's all there is to it. I have to say, these are smelling just like a churro. These little donut holes are gonna be awesome. So now that I have Gia's special treat made, it's time to move on to some fruit and veggies. Now, Gia told me that her favorite fruit is watermelon, so I'm gonna go ahead and slice this one in half. Then I'm going to use my melon baller to scoop out about a dozen little balls or so. Now I know this sounds weird, but making melon balls is actually one of my favorite things. It's really easy to do and they just look really fun. For my next step, I'm gonna go ahead and prepare some cucumber slices, and instead of leaving these plain, I'm going to choose one of these mini little cutters to punch out the center. I have lots of different cutters here, but I think I'm gonna go with this one. I'm not exactly sure what you would call this shape. If you guys know what this shape is called, let me know in the comments down below because it's not coming to mind at the moment. And here's a quick tip, you guys. If you're ever using a really small cookie cutter, I'll often use a little food pick to pop that little piece out because sometimes they don't want to come out on their own. And speaking of food picks, I decided to go with the tiger ones. These definitely remind me of Princess Jasmine's tiger. And the reason I went with a Jasmine theme is because when I met Gia at Disney World, she was wearing a Jasmine t-shirt. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking, well, what about that main course? What is the main course going to be? For Gia's main course, she requested a delicious Nutella and strawberry jam sandwich. This is such a good combination, especially if you're a fan of chocolate-covered strawberries, which I definitely am. And for her sandwich, I'm definitely breaking out my new Pampered Chef tool. I've been using this all the time since I purchased it, and I'm pretty much obsessed. This little gadget makes it possible to make your own Uncrustables at home, and it works so well. So for this sandwich, I'm adding just a thin layer of Nutella to both pieces of bread. And I'm not going all the way to the crusts here because I am going to end up cutting those off. I get questions all the time about what I do with my extra bread crusts. I save them, and once I have enough saved up, I'll make a French toast casserole. It's super tasty and a great way to use all of those leftover crusts. Next, I'm gonna add just a little bit of strawberry jam right to the center. Not too much. I think that's a big tip on making these DIY Uncrustables, is you don't want to put too much filling, otherwise it's just gonna leak out everywhere. And just like that, a DIY Uncrustable. So I went ahead and added this to the lunchbox, and I've also added several other silicone liners for the rest of the items. In this back section, I'm gonna go ahead and add all of our melon balls, and I'm gonna fit as many as I can in there. And this will be the perfect place to add my little tiger picks. Not only are these cute, but the kids can actually use them to pick up the food, because everything is more fun when it's eaten off a stick, right? Then in this front section, I'm going to go ahead and load it up with the cucumber pieces. I'm adding the small pieces and the large pieces right in here. Now in this back section, I'm going to go ahead and add Gia's snack. She chose Cheez-Its, and these are just the classic good old plain Cheez-Its, always good in lunches. And then in this last little section, I have just enough space for those Mickey-shaped churro donut holes. It looks like I'm only going to be able to fit 2 in there, and that's just fine. And then last but not least, for Gia's drink today, she chose apple juice, which works out perfectly because I do have a Jasmine Good to Grow bottle topper. Okay guys, next up I'm going to be making Elliots Lunch. He is 14 years old and is from Paris. For Elliots Lunch today, I'm using the blue Ami box, and I've added some space-themed napkins and some picks. For Elliots' main course, I'm going to be making some meat and cheese roll-ups. This is the perfect gluten-free option. Today, I'm using a combination of cheddar cheese and mozzarella cheese, and then I'm also using several slices of salami. Now this is actually really easy to do. I've just taken 2 slices of salami, and then I'm actually rolling the cheese stick all the way up inside. And then to make these easier to eat and easier to fit in the lunchbox, I'm gonna go ahead and cut them in half, and then I'm going to add these really awesome space-themed food picks. This definitely makes the lunch look a lot more fun, and it keeps these meat and cheese roll-ups together. They're not gonna fall apart in the lunchbox. Now this is looking awesome already. Now that those are finished, I'm going to move on to some grapes. For Elliots Lunch, he requested a combination of green grapes and red grapes, and he asked for me to cut them in half and then put them on a pick in an alternating pattern. So there we go. These turned out really cute, very creative. For my next step, I'm adding Elliott's veggies. He asked for a combination of both broccoli and cauliflower. I can definitely tell that Elliott loves these different color combinations. Now this actually looks really interesting in the lunchbox because both cauliflower and broccoli look similar, but they're different colors. For Elliott's snack, I'm going to be adding some goldfish crackers, and he requested the colorful ones, so I'm just adding a little scoop right in here. Next up, I'm adding some very little sweet treats. Elliott requested the Little Bites chocolate chip muffins. So I'm going to add about 3 in here. That's all that I can fit. And I'll go ahead and add a little pick in there as well, just for fun. And to complete Elliott's lunch, I'm going to be adding a can of Hawaiian Punch. Now for some reason, I could only find this in the canned version, which is totally fine. So I'm just going to add this can in right here. And then that is everything in Elliott's Lunch. Okay guys, this next lunch idea was actually given to me in person by Nevaeh. Now the kids and I actually met Nevaeh and her very sweet mom on the ferry boat when we were headed to the Magic Kingdom. So during our ferry boat ride, I asked Nevaeh what her perfect lunch idea is. For her main course, she requested nachos. Now there are so many different ways to make nachos, but when I was at Walmart the other day, I actually saw these little nacho cheese cups, and they look really interesting. Now I've never actually tried these before, but they look perfect for throwing into lunches. This package comes with 4 individual servings, and this cheese is microwavable, so you could eat it hot or you could eat it at room temperature. And this also says that it's gluten-free and mild, so it's not going to be super spicy. So since this nacho cheese is already nice and packed for me, I'll just go ahead and place it in the lunchbox. And then to go along with these nachos, I'm also going to be adding a small small little container of sour cream. And then for our tortilla chips, I'm going to be using these small round ones. Now I actually find these at Walmart, and I think that these smaller round ones are the perfect tortilla chip for lunches. This smaller size makes it perfect for dipping into the nacho cheese, and they just fit really well in the lunchbox. Now that we have our nachos ready to go, it's time to add some broccoli. Nevaeh chose broccoli for her vegetable. I'll go ahead and decorate these with a little aerial pick. And then for Nevaeh's fruit, she chose an apple. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this up and then add it to the lunchbox. Now that brings us to the snack. For Nevaeh's lunch today, she chose a fruit bar. So I have this little mango flavored one. Now it's not going to fit in the lunchbox very well as is, so I'll go ahead and cut it up and add it right in there. And then right next to that, I'm also going to be adding in Nevaeh's sweet treat. And she chose mini Kit Kat bars. Whenever I see mini Kit Kat bars out, it definitely makes me think of Halloween. Guys, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite Halloween treat is. I'm partial to the Kit Kats, but I also am a big fan of the Reese's. And finally, for Nevaeh's drink today, she chose orange juice. So I just have a little bottle that I'm going to add right here on the side. Okay friends, now that brings us to Habibah's lunch. Habibah is 19 years old and she's from Egypt. For her lunch today, I'm going to be using the pink Ami box, and I decided to go with some Hello Kitty napkins because they're so fun and colorful. I just love them, and I haven't used them in quite a while. Now for Habibah's lunch, I'm definitely going to be needing the thermos section of this lunch box because we're making a hot lunch. For this main course, I'm going to be starting with some thinly sliced pastrami. Now, we actually love pastrami around here, but for some reason I don't buy it very often. Now, if you've never actually tried pastrami, it's really very good. It's very popular for lunches. It's made of beef, but they also add lots of herbs and spices, and then I think it's usually smoked, so it's got a really good smoky flavor as well. So I'm going to take these lunch meat slices and I'm actually going to be chopping them up, almost like you would chop up bacon. Then I'm going to add these to my pan and I'm going to cook these until they're crispy. Now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and crack 2 eggs directly into this pan, and I'm going to scramble these up with the pastrami in there. Now I have to say, I've never actually made this combination before, but it sounds so good and it's smelling delicious too. You should definitely give this one a try if you're a big fan of egg scrambles. So now that these are done, I went ahead and added them to the thermos section, and I want to make sure to get that lid on right away so the food can stay nice and hot. And now it's time to prepare some fruit and veggies. For Habibah's lunch today, she chose watermelon. But this time I'm breaking out my little heart-shaped cookie cutter to make some heart-shaped watermelon pieces. And then I'm going to fit as many of these pieces in the lunchbox as I can. Now on the side, Habibah also requested some little fried potatoes. These were actually frozen, so I just went ahead and heated them up. And to go along with them, she also requested some olives. Now instead of adding just regular black olives, I've decided to go with these green olives. These are actually really tiny little olives with pimentos inside. They're not really spicy, but they are really tangy, I guess you would say. Personally, I love green olives, but not all of my kids are fans. For snack time today, Habibah requested some mixed nuts. So in this little container, I have almonds, peanuts, cashews, and hazelnuts. And I went ahead and put them in this separate little container. That way when I put them in the lunchbox, I don't have to worry about this watermelon juice getting them all soggy, because that would not be very tasty. Next up, I'm going to be adding Habibah's special treat. She requested an Oreo ice cream sandwich. But unfortunately, my store didn't have any ice cream sandwiches with Oreos, but they did have a Klondike bar, which is kind of similar. Still going to be very tasty. And then last but not least, for Habibah's drink, she requested some tea, but not just regular tea. To this, I've also added a little bit of sugar, so it's a little bit sweetened. And then I also added a little bit of milk, so it's kind of like a cold milk tea drink, which actually sounds really good. Let me know in the comments down below if you're a fan of milk tea. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for another week of fun lunch ideas. Let me know in the comments down below, out of all of these lunches, which one was your favorite. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.